All right, y'all. The self-proclaimed king of reality TV got himself another show out. So let me play my intro and then we're going to get into it.
Work, work, work. To me, I get work, 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 work. See me do me dirt, 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 dirt. So me for that work, 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 work. When you walk a line, 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 line. In the girl, them hurt, that, 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 that. Try me, I deserve it. Let the devil lurking. Yeah. You make a like, now you don't like it. You know I dealt with you the nicest. Nobody touched me in the right. Nobody text me in a crisis. I believe that all of your dreams are duration. You took my heart, all my keys, and my patience. You took my heart, I'm a seed for decoration. You mistaken with love, I brought for you for foundation. All that I wanted from you was to give me something that I never had, something that you never seen, something that you never been. But I wake up and nothing's wrong. Just get ready for work, 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 work. To me, I be work, work, work.
Hey, y'all. The self-proclaimed king of reality TV got himself another show. Let me make this bigger back again. Called Love and Marriage Detroit because you know Detroit is his hometown. So let me change this. I keep messing with this thing. So, y'all, of course, he has to do the intro to his hometown. So he gives us a brief history about Detroit, otherwise known as Motown and the Motor City. So he has a little kid there with the crown on. I guess that was supposed to be him with his mythical crown. So he introduces us to the three couples that are out of Detroit. So I'm going to give you the intro that Own wrote about them. The first couple, let me switch them over. The first couple is Brandon and Christina Bowman Smith. They've been married 11 years. They have two young daughters. They reside in a penthouse that overlooks Detroit all right now. Christina is a well-known fashion designer. She must be well-known maybe in the Midwest or somewhere because I've never heard of her. She's a stylist and influencer in Detroit, and Brandon is the owner of the Star Factory, an artist development program where he trains young people of Detroit with a dream to become singers and recording artists. The couple they're going through marital woes, and with Brandon's desire to become the Berry Gordy of 2023, all right now, with his showcase highlighting Detroit's musical talent. And you know a lot of good singers don't come out of Detroit now. But Christina is strong in her faith and not always pleased when Brandon must go out to the clubs for his talent development business, which has been causing tension between them since they got married. Brandon is also holding a secret that he doesn't share with his wife, that he is working with a few new female artists in Detroit. But when Christina finds this out, all hell breaks loose. Lord, child. All right, next couple. That is Russell and Colby Harris. All right. Now, they're a young couple who have been married 3 years. They have a daughter who is 18 months. She's a cutie patootie little girl. Because Russell considers himself the head of the household, he makes the decision to start attending divinity school even before consulting with his wife. Woo, child. And Colby feels that she should be included in more of these important family decisions. She's the daughter of a pastor. Also, was the daughter of a pastor too, Christina. And Colby isn't sure if she wants to revisit that world for a second time as an adult. Russell also runs a nonprofit called Soar Detroit, which focuses on literacy and sports. Colby is a rising social media influencer, which causes a rift with some of the more established influencers in the group. Christina and Colby are like sisters, and both are in the social media influencer space. However, friends become at odds when an opportunity for a collaboration presents itself, and Christina is apprehensive about joining forces. This leads to the two to have a disagreement, which affects their husbands, who are also friends. Woo, child, spicy. All right, and then our last couple, that is Anthony and Dr. Latoya Thompson. All right, they've been married 14 years and they have two sons. Anthony works for Live Nation, the company that puts on a lot of concerts. He owns a production studio. In this household, Latoya is a breadwinner because of her successful sports physical therapist. She's a successful sports physical therapist, and she owns Opulence Wines. And Anthony runs all the day to day and stuff behind the scenes for the wine company. Anthony was offered a production job down in Atlanta. He was working for Disney and Marvel. He temporarily moved down to Atlanta. He left Latoya up in Detroit. This was during the pandemic. But then he ended up returning back to Detroit once she put her foot down. He has a men's organization called the Man's Movement, and he ends up inviting Marcel Scott from Love and Marriage Huntsville to be a speaker. So you already know what that thing is about. Latoya is struggling as a black wine owner in a predominantly white business and disagrees with her husband, who intimates that he helped build the company. Well, I mean, you'll see in the previews that he says it was his money. Child, these people are a mess. You hear me? A mess. But anyway, with the recap, it opens up with they're all at a Father's Day cookout where all the couples meet up. Christina and Brandon talk about how they met on Twitter, and they give their little bio there. And Christina states that she no longer helps Brandon's clients, and we find out about that later in the episode. Um, then Colby, in her confessional, says she calls her husband a Superman, which I don't know about all that. But they talk about him, and he's also in the Army National Guard. Um, Colby says they love the cookout, but they have a chef cooking at this. I guess Colby and Russell give this cookout, but they have a chef that's doing the cooking, a chef or a cook that's doing the cooking. But I said, okay. Christina and Colby are close because they're both preachers' kids, and they've known each other for a few years. So two of them are very close. Um, then Dr. Latoya, they go over to her and talk about her and Anthony. The two of them met, I guess, while they were attending Michigan State, and that's how their romance started. Um, they have three kids. I guess they have two together, and he has one outside of the marriage. Um, Anthony and Brandon have been friends for over 20 years. Kobe and Latoya are sorority sisters. They didn't say which sorority. The men, when they all sit down, they're eating at the table. The men are talking about a past Vegas trip that some of them took. And they're kind of going back and forth about this trip. They're also talking about this man's movement thing. And I'm like, what is this man's movement thing? It sounds like this red pill, all that, that men's thing that they got going on now, that this ridiculousness and this male chauvinist crap. But they're saying it so that men have a voice and to be celebrated. When do men not have a voice? And they're always being celebrated by the pick So, like, what are they talking about? But anyway, Anthony brings up another man's trip where he wants to bring Brandon. And once, they're talking, Christina's like uh, saying that is because Brandon said he's gonna go or whatever, and Christina saying, "Are you asking? Are you telling?" And I'm like sitting there, one like, this is the first episode. Oh, yo, excuse me for yawning. And there's all this heat and all this stuff. And it's just the way that Christina is like talking to him. And Russell says in his confessional, he's talking about the way Christina is talking to Brandon. And my thing is, it's the way that a woman is talking to her husband in front of people. Like, it's one thing to say, not to say anything or say, okay, honey, or whatever. And then you talk about it later on when you guys are behind closed doors. And it was just a whole big, big to do. And then Christina has some concerns about Brandon's past behavior, which we find out more in detail later on in the episode. So then they switch over cookouts over to some days later when Christina and Kobe meet up for a play date to take their daughters. Christina has two daughters. Kobe has the 18-month-old. So they talk about being wives, being mothers, being preacher kids. Christina is 10 years older than Kobe. She will be 40 years old in December. She says she wants more help from Brandon, even though he works long hours in his studio. Kobe's telling her that she's doing good. Um, Christina's been married for 11 years. Her anniversary is coming up, and she's has 7 years into being a mother. I think she has. I know one of the kids, I believe, is like 6 years old or so. They switch over to the Star Factory, which is Brandon's studio for artist development. He has a new artist named Naya. Christina calls to see when he's coming home. He has not told her about Naya because I guess there's some issue with female uh, talent that he is developing. So I'm looking at when he's talking to her, and I'm like, his phone is cracked. I'm like, you couldn't get your phone fixed, knowing you're going to be on national TV and people might see it. But I'm like, oh, but you live in a penthouse. But I'm like, okay, whatever. So he's telling her that she's interrupting his flow and that she broke his zone and that he might as well cancel the session. He's going on and on. They're going back and forth. He's feeling that he wants to be catered to and appreciated. He's saying, um, and this like ties into where he's feeling he wants to be catered and be appreciated. She's feeling where she talks to Kobe earlier when they had gone on the play date with the kids that she wants him to help out more at home. But it's like if this is his business, like his business is almost like a 24/7 business because he also has to go wherever his business goes to developing clients where he may have to go to clubs, he may have to go out of town, he may have to do, when you're with someone who is in the business, they're not a 9 to 5 person or even a 9 to 7 person. Like their business is around the clock. So I see where their marriage is going to take on some stress and strain, but we'll see how that works out. So Anthony is out with his son. They're at like a sports plex. He's training his son about being involved in sports and activities because he knows what the culture is for black men with getting shot and ending up incarcerated. So he's there for his son to teach him some things. His wife Latoya shows up. They talk about opulence wine, about how Anthony does the behind the scene business, how he has to travel and do things for work. He tells her he about how he had to go to Atlanta, how that caused problems in the marriage and a big strain. Um, so they talked a little bit about that. Then it went over to Brandon, who brings, um, it's Brandon and Christina's 11-year anniversary celebration. He brings Christina blindfolded to a lavender farm where all the couples are there, and the Al Bettis band is playing some beautiful R&B music for them. Um, Colby in her confessional says that Russell is not romantic. Um, they all sit down and they're talking. Anthony's talking once again about this man's movement, which is some crap. Christina says that she doesn't get it. She doesn't want Brandon to be part of it. And she's saying it, and Brandon is right there. Brandon doesn't say anything. And you know what? I part of it is like you understand why Brandon doesn't say anything, but then again, Brandon almost needs to tell her to like not shut up, but like stop. Um, then they talk about the club situation. They bring up about going to the club for business, and Christina and Brandon are going back and forth um, about the club thing. Then Colby starts talking, and she inserts herself in it when she needs to shut up. And see, that's when, like, I look at Russell, and Russell really needs to, I won't say have some control over his wife, but they need to have a code word or something where he can let her know that she needs to shut up. Like, she needs to keep her mouth closed because she inserts herself in. And it's almost like she inserts herself in places in their marriage because it's almost like in a way she's taken up for her friend, but to insert herself where she knows that Christina maybe is missing a point or needs something clarified, so Colby sticks in to try to help bolster Christina's argument or whatever. So Christina is saying that Christina, Anthony, like first, let me go. Okay, let me go back. Anthony first tells Christina she's insecure about Brandon having to go to the club because Brandon needs to go there for work, for his job, to get clients, to get people to promote his clients and things like that in the clubs. So Brandon, and through this, Brandon talks about wives wives like holding back husband's dreams, like this is his dream, this is his business, and she's kind of holding him back, which I can understand, like whatever insecurity she has, like with whatever happened in the past, and this brings her to bringing up the history that everyone doesn't know about. And she talks about in her confessional that he did have like an emotional attachment with someone that he was I won't say mentoring, that he the artist that he was cultivating, and that he had an emotional connection with her, and Christina had taken this young lady under her wing, and come to find out they had this emotional attachment. What can happen with people who are working very closely, and if Brandon, is going through these feelings like he stated before in his marriage, not feeling appreciated and all those kind of things like that can happen if someone else is giving you what you feel you're not getting at home. It's unfortunate, but things like that happens. And Brandon had also brought up that he wanted to go to a club because one of his success stories had celebrated a birthday, but I guess Christina gave him a hard time, and he must not have gone. Um, and like I said, Russell was telling Colby basically to mind her business, but Colby just went ahead and brought up that he had this female artist, and Christina got very upset about it because Brandon hadn't told her, but he had told his friends. And then Russell went from there and told his wife Colby, and then Colby brings it up. And I could see in Colby's nonverbal communication that she meant to do it, because if you look at it, just the look on her face, and I don't want to show the video here because Owen will give me a copyright claim. If you look at that part in the video and you look at her face, she meant to do that. Like, she meant to do that. She didn't do that to hurt her friend. She mainly did that as a gotcha to Brandon. But in your gotcha to Brandon, you're hurting your friend. You're really hurting your friend in that. And that's the thing that people don't realize. Like, when you do a gotcha to someone, you're also hurting your friend in that. So it really, the show looks interesting. Um, it looks like it's really going to be a good show. Like they show, in the previews coming up, that, like I said earlier, that Russell does sign up for divinity school, and he doesn't tell his wife. He just goes ahead and signs up. There are going to be some issues with Brandon and Christina through this. There's going to be issues with Dr. Latoya and Anthony, because of this men's movement and because of him wanting to be able to work, do other work besides the winery, the wine production or whatever, and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be interesting how this all plays out. And up in Detroit, a lot of things, like up in Detroit, I remember there was a show called The Ministers of Detroit. And I know Detroit is a big place with ministers. I know recently there was another show that Carlos King had called Growing in Gospel. So I think that may have been based out of, I believe that was based out of Detroit as well. So I'm wondering if Detroit might be a kind of Bible Belt of the North. So, so they may have some religious things going on up there with Russell wanting to go to divinity school, and Anthony bringing up this man's movement, with things like with men leading their household and that type of thing. So we'll see how this all plays out. I wasn't going to review it at all because I don't review any other of Carlos's shows, because a lot of his stuff, I don't like it. It's toxic, and I just don't like what it gives. But I saw this, like I said, I stumbled onto this show because I was watching Love and Marriage Huntsville. It came on right after. I said, let me see how it goes. And I said, let me give it a chance. And I did. So, I liked it so far. It wasn't too bad. So we'll see how it goes. And then from there, I will see if I want to continue doing it. But for first episode, it was pretty good. For the first episode, I'll give it an 8. I will give it an 8 because I did like it. So with that, y'all, let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe. Click on the bell button for the uploads. And I will leave you how I always
say it with me,
leave you.
kids. If protecting my peace makes me the villain, then bitch, my name is Thanos.
Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.
Work, work, work. To me, I get work, 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 work. See me do me dirt, 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 dirt. So me for that work, 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 work. When you walk a line, in the curve, and try me, I deserve. Listen to if you're lurking. Yeah. You make a rock, now you don't like it. You know I dealt with you the nicest. Nobody touched me in the right. Nobody touched me in a crisis. I believe that all of your dreams are duration. You took my heart.